3:17 a.m. The only lights are the glow from my phone and the faint orange of the street lamp bleeding through the blinds. My room is a mess. Clothes I meant to fold are piled on the chair, forming a soft, slouching silhouette in the dark. There's a fine layer of dust on my desk, covering the spines of textbooks I haven't touched in a week. Exams are coming. I know they are. But the thought is a distant hum, easily drowned out by the endless scroll. It started with loneliness. A deep, hollowing ache that settles in your chest when the world goes quiet. The dorm is silent. My roommate's breathing is a steady rhythm from the other side of the room. But I'm wide awake. My mind is buzzing. It's always buzzing. The quiet feels too loud, too empty. So I pick up my phone. Just for a minute, I tell myself, just to see what's happening. The screen is a portal. Memes, arguments, strangers' perfect lives, curated and filtered. It's a distraction, I know, but it's a warm one. It fills the silence. It makes the loneliness feel less personal. Shaytan is a master of this game. He doesn't come with horns and a pitchfork. He comes as a whisper in the quiet, a suggestion when you're at your weakest. He finds the crack in your armor, that feeling of being alone, of being unseen, and he wedges it open. He tells you this digital noise is connection. He tells you this endless stream of content is company. And at 3 a.m., when your defenses are down, you believe him. You scroll, and you scroll, and you keep scrolling. My thumb moves on its own, a mechanical, repetitive motion. Another video, another hot take, another argument in the comments. I'm not even really watching anymore. I'm just consuming, filling the void. I feel a flicker of guilt. I should be sleeping. I should be preparing for the day. I should be preparing for my Lord. But the thought is fleeting, washed away by the next post. This is just what people do, right? Everyone my age is up at this hour, their faces bathed in the same blue light. It's normal. That's the second step. He takes the distraction and he reframes it. He normalizes it. Suddenly, it's not a symptom of a deeper spiritual illness. It's just culture. It's what everyone does. My feed is full of it. People I know from class, influencers I've never met, they're all living this life. The late-night chats, the endless series binges, the casual interactions that blur the lines of what's permissible. It's everywhere. I see a message pop up. It's from her. My heart does a little jump. We've been talking for a few weeks. It's nothing serious, I tell myself. Just friends. But my thumb taps the notification before I can even finish the thought. Her messages are a different kind of distraction. They're targeted, personal. Each notification is a little jolt of validation. Someone is thinking of me. I'm not alone in this digital sea. We talk about nothing and everything. The hours melt away. 4:45 a.m. A knot tightens in my stomach. Fajr. I need to get up, make wudu, pray. It's the most important appointment of my day. But her last message is a question. If I stop now, the conversation hangs. She'll think I'm weird. Everyone my age does this. The whisper comes again, louder this time. Don't be the strange one. Just 5 more minutes. Shaytan whispered to them. The Quran says in Surah Al-Araf, to make apparent to them what was concealed from them of their private parts. He doesn't just expose our physical nakedness. He exposes the vulnerabilities of our soul. He makes what is harmful seem appealing, what is forbidden seem necessary. He promises connection, but delivers attachment. He promises relief, but delivers dependency. This is the third and most dangerous step, the emotional dependency. The need for that validation, that digital connection, starts to outweigh everything else. It becomes the new priority. My fingers are typing a reply, my mind completely absorbed in crafting the perfect, witty response. The world outside this chat bubble ceases to exist. I'm no longer a servant of Allah with an obligation to fulfill. I'm just a guy trying to impress a girl through a screen. I hear it then, faintly from a mosque far away. The call. Asterisk as saledu kairon, minin nom. Prayer is better than sleep. The words hang in the air, a lifeline thrown into my sea of distraction. For a second, I hesitate. My body feels heavy, pinned to the bed by a strange inertia. I could get up. I know I should. But the phone in my hand feels heavier. The conversation feels more urgent. Her reply comes through, a laughing emoji. I tell myself I'll pray when I wake up. I'll make it up. It's just one prayer. But it's never just one prayer. The real consequence isn't a lightning bolt from the sky. It's not a sudden, traumatic fall from grace. It's a gradual hardening, a slow, creeping numbness of the heart. The next morning, the guilt is sharp. But the day after, when it happens again, it's a little duller. A week later, it's just a background hum. You start making excuses. You were too tired. You had an early class. You'll be better tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes the next day, and the next. The phone becomes the first thing you reach for in the morning, and the last thing you see at night. The emotional high from a text message becomes more real than the peace you were supposed to find on the prayer mat. Your spiritual senses, once sharp and attuned to the call of Allah, become muffled. Your heart, which was meant to be a vessel for light and guidance, slowly fills with the digital static of this dunya. It doesn't break. It just hardens, layer by silent layer, until you can barely feel anything at all. This isn't a story about a dramatic downfall. It's the quiet tragedy of a million Muslim youth. It's the story of how Shaytan wins not with a roar, but with a whisper you mistake for your own thoughts. But the mercy of Allah is greater than Shaytan's schemes. The heart that is hardened can be softened. The focus that has been stolen can be reclaimed. It's not about grand gestures or vowing to never use your phone again. That's not sustainable. It's about fighting back with the same quiet, consistent strategy he uses against you. It's about reclaiming your time, your attention, your barakah in small, manageable bursts. Here's the plan. It's simple. It's actionable. It's a system for restoring barakah. Between each salah from Dhuhr to Isha, you dedicate just 25 minutes. That's it. 4 blocks of pure, intentional focus. Set a timer. Put your phone in another room. Not on silent. Not face down. In another room. For those 25 minutes, you open the textbook. You work on the essay. You do the one thing your future self will thank you for. The key, the anchor that makes this all work, is dhikr. Before you start your 25-minute block, you close your eyes and you say it 10 times. Asterisk la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no might nor power except with Allah. You're acknowledging your weakness. You are tethering your small, scattered effort to the infinite source of all strength. It's a declaration of dependence on the one who is truly in control. When the 25 minutes are up, you stop. You can check your phone. You can take a break until the next salah. This method does 2 things. First, it breaks the cycle of constant distraction. It creates pockets of deep focus, proving to yourself that you are still in control of your attention. Second, and more importantly, it recenters your entire day around your prayer. Your life is no longer a series of interruptions punctuated by salah. You work for Allah and the time He has given you, anchored by the remembrance of Him. Your focus is a trust from Allah. It's the currency of your potential. Don't let the thief in the night steal it from you silently. Recognize the whispers. Reclaim your time. Anchor your efforts in Him. Start today.